No data. And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Thursday, June 5th, Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Indiana Pacers, Oklahoma City Thunder. Been waiting for it all year. We certainly did not expect to get this one, but we're here nevertheless, ready to break it all down. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. I'm pumped to talk some basketball. This stretch of a couple days off has sucked. I'm ready for the NBA. So we're here. We're going to take a look through everything we've got from the DFS side, see if there's any bets available. If they are, great. I will be back later tonight at 8 p.m. for Live Before Lock. That's when we're really going to put the pedal to the metal. We'll have a little bit better of a feeling of where we stand. We'll get a lot more betting data in. And then playback. Playback.tv/Stokastic. You can be there. Link is in the description. Come join us. Watch the game. Sign up to watch it. Get a VIP pass to watch it. Either one of those are going to work. And I'm going to be there the whole time. Whole game. Well, I shouldn't say whole game. Like, if it's a blowout, I'm going to leave. But I'm doing playback from the jump for the finals. No other place you could put me other than watching this game with all of you guys. So I hope everybody joins me on playback today. I'm not confident we get a great game, but maybe the first half will be good. I obviously really like Oklahoma City. It's very interesting series. I mean, these teams are not on the same tier. They're just not. So far, this playoffs, 11.5 net rating for OKC, 4.5 net rating for Indiana, yet the same record. Just going to say this now so everybody understands. We really need to pretend like wins and losses aren't things, because when you look at those things, it kind of makes you think, well, how does that happen? And it's pretty obvious how that happens. One other team that I think is very interesting to look at, the 10-8 New York Knicks at the negative 0.6 point differential. Congratulations, Knicks. Frauds. Just kidding. They're actually good. But, you know, we've got to learn how to evaluate these things properly. I'm really excited to see the dynamic between Pacers offense and OKC defense. Just a lot of movement, or not, depending on how we're thinking about the OKC defense. Pacers are going to try to get them threes up. And I assume one day they'll fall. But I retweeted something earlier today that I thought was very interesting. Let me pull that tweet up here. Shout out to Crumple Jumper. One of the best to do it. But look at this tweet. Or at least look at this image. So, can I not? Anyway, you guys can see the top of this. I'm dumb. And, oh, I know what I need to do. There we go. Perfect. Open three-pointers from the regular season to the postseason. I think this is very interesting. The Pacers shot 41% from three in the regular season on open threes. That is up to 44.4. Meanwhile, the Thunder were better than the Pacers shooting open threes this year at 42.5%. That is down 5 percentage points to 37.4. Now, open, in theory, is just open. There shouldn't be different flavors of open, but I would argue that there are. And I would say that an open three against the Thunder, probably not the same as an open three against the Wizards. Similarly, for the Thunder here, Yeah, they're down 5 percentage points in open threes. I don't think the Pacers are the team that's going to make that continue. So I wouldn't be surprised to see both of those numbers come together, and that won't be helping the Indiana Pacers at all today. But I thought that was a very interesting stat on, just where, I don't want to say shooting luck, but, shooting variance can get you. Take a look at the ownership for right now. This was pretty startling. Can't say that I disagree with it. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 12-2, the overwhelming primary captain on DraftKings. Bump that down a little bit. There we go. Now, I do expect that number to come down a little bit. I also expect the ownership on Aaron Wiggins, I think, to come down a little bit. But he is going to be far and away the most popular captain. He's $1,200 more expensive than Tyrese Halliburton. Sure. But got it. There we go. Sometimes I have to remember what I need to type in. Okay, so now suddenly I'm not logged in. Fantastic. There is a... Why is that not there now? Oh, silly stuff. Go to the data hub. Should have just did that from the beginning. Here's the real problem. SGA projected for 56 fantasy points. Tyrese Halliburton, 42. The gap here is very interesting. Shai at 12-2, the overwhelming highest projected guy, the clear guy to be the most likely high scorer. But Halliburton and J-Dub are basically the same guy from a projection standpoint. And yet, the real problem here is that J-Dub, 15% at the captain, Halliburton at 10. They're both pretty similarly owned. The two best plays, pretty clearly to me, are SGA and Jalen Williams. Because Jalen Williams' price is fantastic for what this series is, and Shai is just that much better than Tyrese Halliburton. Not to mention, I'm going to put this out there now, I hate Halliburton in this series. Hate it, hate it, hate it, hate it. This is as bad as it could possibly be for him. I think they're going to have a really difficult time keeping the ball in his hands as much as they want it to be in his hands. Because defensively, for 30 minutes a night, Lu Dort is just going to be in his jersey. And if they switch screens, I don't think they need to get Lu Dort out of an action at that point. So, like, let's say a big, whether it's, let's just say Turner or let's just say Siakam, which either one of them. I'm never talking about Tony Bradley or those idiots. If they're trying to set a screen on Halliburton, depending on whether that's Chet or Hartenstein at that point in time guarding whoever that screener is. If Dort's fighting over that, that's one thing, but they're never going to have to get him back out. Miles Turner or Pascal Siakam are not going to be the guys that are going to punish him there. So I think Dort is just going to be able to go crazy. Now, I listened to, and I would highly recommend everybody else do this, Zach Lowe's podcast. I don't know if it was yesterday or 2 days ago. I listened to it yesterday with Caitlin Cooper. Basketball She Wrote, Patreon. No person on the planet more focused on the Indiana Pacers. And I don't mean right now, I mean always, in case you're not curious. They broke this bad boy down in depth, and you got a real look into thoughts on the Pacers. And Kayla Cooper had a couple interesting things to say that I was a little surprised by. One was her expected matchups defensively for the Pacers on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Specifically, and vice versa, and the Thunder guys on the Pacers. And they are looking at it slightly differently than me in that they think it's going to be a lot more one big, no big. And I think Oklahoma City is going to be good enough that they don't have to do that. But we'll see. But what is going to be very interesting is the combination of how Hartenstein and Holmgren, if they're starting together, are matching up on Siakam and Turner. Because I would want Chet to be the help defender, more of a roamer, which would likely put Isaiah Hartenstein on Pascal Siakam. And I'm okay with that. Kayla Cooper kind of thought it was going to be the other direction. So I'm very interested to see what those defensive matchups end up looking like. Because I want Chet, as much as he can be, to not be in the actions. Now, Rick Carlisle will clearly just do something different to get to that point, but I don't want Chet in the actions. I want him as the help guy if I can. And if that's the case, then that means, I think, you're putting Isaiah Hartenstein on Pascal Siakam. So what I want to look at, the nice little player profile here on B-Ball Index. Let's look at Pascal Siakam for a second. So, if Siakam's getting guarded by a big, what's that gonna do? Let me shrink that down to quick view for a second, because I'm a little intrigued by it. Because Pascal Siakam's biggest claim to fame, I guess, is going to be working essentially in ISO. And that goes very, very well for him. I'm not entirely sure that's a great spot to be ISOing against Hartenstein. I could be wrong. But also, we got to look at like what Pascal Siakam likes to do. He is an A+ in perimeter isolation frequency. So he wants to get out there on his own. I don't think that's a great scenario against Oklahoma City. I can't think of you gotta be an ultra crazy shot maker to want to ISO out against Oklahoma City. There's just too much support. The whole damn defense is like a swarm. So it does make me wonder, like, what else is he going to be able to do? And I just don't like this series for him either. Like, this is a guy that likes to frequently, like really frequently, post up. You guys can see it on the screen right here. Post up frequency. 44% of Pascal Siakam's scoring possessions were post ups. It's an A+. That's a lot. I can't imagine Indy is trying to go to more post ups against OKC here. A team that basically no one limits the rim more and no one deters more at the rim. I can't. It's so hard for me to find an angle on Indy that I actually like, because I don't like Halliburton. I don't like Siakam. From a DFS standpoint, this name right here that I'm highlighting on the screen, and for those that are listening in just audio, that name is Obi Toppin. He's kind of the guy I like the most from a fantasy perspective, which I hate and runs counter to literally everything I believe about basketball, because I don't think he should even make it out there. But if we look at Obi Toppin, let's get to the stat that we're looking for here. Three-point shooting talent, B+. Now, he's not going to create his own, but he makes them. This is the interesting part to me. He's an A- catch and shoot guy. You best believe he's going to be getting a lot of that. He's a solid enough shooter, but this is the one that I think is interesting. On the season, Obi Toppin's three-pointer shot quality wasn't very good. D-, negative 3.6. Or sorry, negative 0.36. However, I think that undersells him for this matchup because of the way that Oklahoma City plays. Because if we look at the shooting numbers, Oklahoma City gave up 12% corner threes, 29% non-corner threes. No team took more corner threes or against a team than Oklahoma City's defense. That's what they're willing to give up, because they've got long guys that can close out and try to get into everybody when they're taking those shots. Just out of curiosity, where have they been in the playoffs for corner threes? Second, only Houston allowed more corner threes. So to me, Obi Toppin is going to have the opportunity to take corner threes a lot, and he is willing to take them. And as best I can tell, that's going to be one of the better looks that the Pacers will be able to get to on most possessions. Do I want to have a lot of confidence in him? No. But I think his offensive opportunities, at least to start in this series, are uniquely advantageous for DFS. Now, if he's continuing to be as awful defensively, this might be a problem in game 3. But for today, if OKC's game plan is going to continue to be, we can live with you guys getting corner threes, we think we could close out to it, then I think that benefits Obi Toppin in a really big way. 3,600, around 30% owned. I think that value is totally fine. Now, I talked about this in the first look show on Tuesday, but I'll reiterate here that I really don't like this series for TJ McConnell, and I think they're going to need Benedict Mathurin more. I don't know what TJ McConnell can do to be an asset here, other than just like small bursts of time to try to get guys rest. But as I look at McConnell, move that up a little bit. There we go. A+ in rim shot creation this season. Gets to the rim, creates a lot of opportunities, but he never gets fouled when he does that. And he doesn't shoot particularly well. And the shots that he does take at the rim are awful. Now, when he's got a look, it's efficient. You know where you're not going to have a look? When the team you're facing limits shots at the rim essentially more than anybody else, And when people do take them, they don't succeed better than anybody else in the league. I don't know what we could take away from this other than thinking I have no idea how TJ McConnell does anything of value at the rim. Not to mention the other main part of this. Oh, that's not the right one. Where is it? Where's the shot data? Am I stupid? Guarded, off ball, one-on-one, offensive rebounding. There it is, perimeter shooting. Oof. Let's not forget, 3-point shooting talent, D-. Catch and shoot, 3-point talent, F. Shot making efficiency, D-. Dude can't shoot. Well, if you can't shoot and you can't get to the rim and do anything, well, at least you got to be like a really good defender, right? Well, he is an irritant, but he's too small in this series. I think he's not going to be the guy from a minutes perspective. Now we're seeing him sit at 4K, 24% owned. We're seeing Benedict Mathurin, 3K, 19% owned. Right away, if I see this and I'm thinking that if the slate started right now, if this ownership held, I am thrilled to get a lot less of TJ McConnell and a lot more of Benedict Mathurin. To me, I'm very happy to flip-flop those guys and then some. I need some coffee. So there are some other guys where like I just don't really have a take. Like you've got Alex Caruso and Cason Wallace within $1,000 of each other, both around 25% owned. That could go either way. You know, they're both good defenders. Obviously, Caruso, one of the best perimeter defenders that have ever played basketball. But speed is starting to become, I don't want to say it's a problem for him because that would be a preposterous way to talk about him. But Caruso is going to do better on slightly stronger guys than slightly quicker guys, whereas Cason Wallace is going to do way better on slightly quicker guys compared to slightly stronger guys. So figuring out where those two guys land defensively when they're trying to take Halliburton or Nembhard, that's going to be a little bit of a learning experience. We'll kind of find that out in game one, how that holds up. Because if Caruso can, if Halliburton doesn't have that first step past Caruso, that's a real problem. Because if he needs to be able to beat Caruso more frequently and use the speed for it. So watching how Caruso and Wallace end up will be intriguing to me. I also think that we'll just see a little bit more Caruso potentially on like Pascal Siakam or Miles Turner. Look, if you can match up Alex Caruso on Nikola Jokic, you'll figure it out against Miles Turner. Speaking of Miles Turner, I mean, I think it's a massive series for him. If you're ever going to let the minutes rip, and I don't even know if you can do that in these type of series with the amount that these guys move now. We might have reached a situation where like the ultra huge minutes here become very difficult to do in a game that has this sort of up and down nature. But they need Miles Turner. He's the wild card. If you have any prayer as Indiana to do something in this series, Miles Turner has to be the best big. That's just it. He has to be different. The shot's got to go. He's got to show a little bit more interest in a rebound. It's not necessarily like their style. I don't want to just put it on Miles Turner, because we need to remember that like just rebound numbers don't really tell the story of if you're a good rebounder or not. But it doesn't really matter in this case. He's a terrible offensive rebounder. He doesn't really do anything of value. There's no putbacks because he's never going to be there to do that kind of stuff. This is what you need from Miles Turner. A- shooting talent, A shot making, 39.5% perimeter shooter, A+ catch and shoot guy. This dude needs to make everything he puts up. He needs to shoot like PJ Washington did against OKC last year. Everything's got to go. Everything's got to go. What I really think is going to be a problem for Turner, and why I'm a little bit less optimistic, is he's really not amazing getting out from the rim. And I think that's going to be a bit of a problem, because at the rim, he's fantastic. People don't really want to be there. He sends that shit constantly. Not a great matchup in the post. So I think Miles Turner is just simply a wild card. If it's going bad for the Pacers, I have a hard time believing it's going good for Miles Turner, because the better it goes for Miles Turner, the better it goes for everybody. Because if his offense is working, that changes all of the spacing for the rest of this team. But at the same time, it could also just be a bit of an issue. Now, there are some guys that are not pulling much ownership. I think we should probably touch on those. First things first, though. I do need you guys to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. I'm going to hit you guys with our schedule for the rest of today. We have Laffy coming up next, 11 a.m. You get him for the MLB strategy show. Spags will be doing a 2 p.m. best ball stream. Greg and Eric will be live at 6 p.m. for MLB Live Before Lock. And then I will be back at 8 for NBA Live Before Lock. Oh, that's the wrong button. There we go. That's the right button. All the links to anything you could want are in the description of this video. I don't have much of a take on Andrew Nembhard. He's just going to be out there. He is going to have the opportunity to do a little bit more here, because I think that's how frequently they are just going to be up Tyrese Halliburton's ass. I just don't think that Nembhard has the chops to actually get it done. Nesmith is 7K. That is a really healthy number. I think we probably want to look at one thing. Let me see if I could find it, because I don't actually know if it's in here or not. I've never actually... I mean, I guess I don't even need to find the stat. It's not going to matter. Oh, there it is. It is there. Contextual data. Aaron Nesmith. D- in fouls committed per 75 possessions. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Just, not that we don't already know what I'm about to show everybody, but fouls drawn per 75 possessions, 6.46, 98th percentile. That is an A+. I got a real difficult time taking a 7K Aaron Nesmith in a series where he is going to be tasked with trying to stop Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. 16% ownership might just be too much for him. I do find Isaiah Joe at least a little bit interesting in this series because I don't think, especially in minutes where Halliburton's not on the floor, and the dynamic of Wiggins versus Joe versus Kenrich Williams, who I think actually is the most underrepresented guy here. I just don't know if he's the most underrepresented guy for game 1 or game 2 or game 3. My expectation is that he is underrepresented for today at 4% ownership. I think he's the next guy in line. You know, we saw him obviously in the last series. I think they are way more likely to go to Kenrich Williams at the 5 with no other bigs on the floor, or in at the 4 if J-Dub is not on the floor and you have Chet in at the 5. I think this is a Kenrich Williams series. I think it's very easy for him to be out there. He fits sort of with anybody. He can defend up and down the positional spectrum. Kenrich Williams being 4% owned is without question the value play that I want for today. Defensive positional versatility on Kenrich Williams, A+. He can guard anybody that's out there. Now you're probably going to get him on Siakam, potentially, depending on when he's out there. Obi Toppin, sure. But I think he's underrepresented. Now, I want to be clear here. Do not read into this ownership yet. This is all very live to move up and down by the time we get to lock. Wiggins could be 20. Kenrich could be 10. Joe could be 15. All of this could move around. So if I'm looking at it like it right now, $1,600 Kenrich Williams, I like more than Isaiah Joe. I like more than Ben Shepherd or Thomas Bryant or Tony Bradley or Jalen Williams with a Y. I can't say that I like him more than Wiggins because Wiggins is just unequivocally going to project better than him. But that could change based on ownership. Ultimately, I think paying attention to Kenrich is interesting. Hartenstein is a tricky one. He's not really pulling any ownership. And I like him in this series because I think that the gap in talent is going to be big enough that they can continue to just have Hartenstein out there more and more. And I don't say it like he gets played off the floor because that's not what it is. But the game's going to be moving very quickly. And in those situations, we might see Oklahoma City lean into smaller looks. Chet at the 5, J-Dub at the 5, Kenrich Williams at the 5, at the expense of Isaiah Hartenstein to get Cason Wallace, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins out on the floor. I see that path, and I'm sure there's going to be spots where we do see that more frequently than we thought we would. But I don't think they're going to need to do it because I think the talent gap's too big. So I do find Hartenstein interesting because I think there's a world where he plays like 6 minutes more than anybody expects him to play. But I'm also very cognizant that they might not do it that way, and they might make their defense like extra special terrifying. But I think against the Pacers, Hartenstein can hold up in any of those matchups because we watched him do it a year ago. Not only did we watch him do it a year ago, he was great. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong. I'm saying this like it's a fact because in my mind it is. But he was fantastic against the Pacers last year, right? I'm not misremembering that. 33 minutes, 7 points, 9 boards, 4 assists. Yeah. Do I have a full plus minus? How is that not on there? Yeah, I will take that. That's great. 20% defensive rebounding rate, 15% offensive rebounding rate, 66% true shooting. No usage, obviously. Anyway, great. I have no reason to suspect that he would be worse here. He was great last year, having to do way more work trying to save the rest of the dudes on the Knicks. He doesn't have to do the same kind of work for OKC. I mean, you're working, don't get me wrong, but you're not having to bail out Jalen Brunson. You've got plus defenders everywhere else. I see the path for Hartenstein. I am more of a believer in this series than it seems like the data is. But I just don't think that they're going to have to make as many changes because I think they're that much better. I think playing Hartenstein less to go to your single Chets, your J-Dubs, your Kenrich Williams at the 5, I think that only happens once it needs to. And I don't think it needs to in game 1. I don't really think I have anybody else to touch on. The FanDuel side is all very similar, other than J-Dub is way more expensive than Chet, which makes Chet look really interesting at 9,400. And then Caruso is sort of the FanDuel value play du jour right now. But I don't think there's very much context that's different here. What I do think we need to do is build a DraftKings lineup and a FanDuel lineup. So let's do that. Because this is what we're all here for, right? Building single lineups. So here we go. Let's build a lineup, shall we? Hit that like button. Alrighty. Let's go large contest. 35% to first. Let's figure out who we want to use at the captain spot on DraftKings. And let me scoop that up a little bit there. Perfect. Perfect. I mean, to me, I think I have to use Jalen Williams. And then I'll take Shea. I'm going to try to build it with the guys that I actually like. So give me Obi Toppin. Now I need a value play. And at least based on this, I almost have to use Aaron Wiggins, but I don't want to. If I go Kenrich, if I just click Kenrich, if I try to be really silly with this one, and I complete it with Turner and Chet, I guess. 1,100 on the table. This is going to be massively negative. This will be like negative 30. Negative 50, as expected. Got to get Kenrich out of there. That's not the real path. And then we get Turner out of there. So I need to think about most efficient plays left. I don't like that. I don't like that. The value on Neesmith is just terrible. You know what? Benedict Mathurin. That adds Halliburton and Caruso. I don't like adding Halliburton, but I think this lineup will actually grade out pretty well. Like 10 to 15% ROI. -8. Okay. Yeah, I don't like the Halliburton piece there. So if I don't want Halliburton, I do need to figure out who that would be and if there's even enough money to spend. it would have to be like Miles Turner. And then that's just going to complete with what, Nembhard? Yeah. That's going to be too much left on the table, and that one's going to be ugly. Yeah. I'm not liking the J-Dub at captain build. So if I'm not going to do the J-Dub at captain spot, I'm going to test out and see what we have with SGA there. That will allow me to go to J-Dub. I'm going to go Turner and Toppin. And if I complete there, it gives me Chet and Wiggins. I expect this to be positive, but I don't like it. I would want to flip Wiggins into a different 1K guy if I were playing it. Yeah, 30%. I assume that if I take out Wiggins and replace him with a different value guy, like if I replace him with Isaiah Joe, does the points discount offset the ownership discount? It does not. It does not. If I wanted that to be Kenrich, who does it complete with? Nembhard and 1300. Yeah, I don't like that. Let's take a peek at this one. Shea, Nembhard, Chet, J-Dub, Kenrich, and Obi Toppin. Yeah. The first one we had was the best one there with the Shea captain. Let's check out FanDuel. Let's see what we have here. This is probably going to look very, very, very similar. But I'm going right out of the gate, building for the absolute nuts here. And if that's the case, I am going J-Dub captain. That gets me Shea in at utility. That gets me Chet at utility, I think. Caruso, Dort, or Wallace. That's actually going to be Dort for me. I recognize that I'm going to need a pacer at some point in time. What do I complete here with? Halliburton, Nembhard? Nah, not for me. What if I pulled Dort in lieu of Toppin? And then I get my boy Hartinstein, and I complete with Turner, Chet. Ooh, 400 on the table, 4-2 OKC. I kind of like this one. I hope it's positive. 15%. I'll take that. Steve, you don't think it's worth getting to the 1K players? Yeah, I couldn't really disagree more. Because Isaiah Joe doesn't play. Sure. I think that's all I've got for right now. I've kind of touched on everybody from an ownership perspective that I think is real. I don't think I've missed any individuals. I think OKC wins. I think OKC covers game one. I will say this though. If the Pacers cover in game one, I am unloading as much as I can on OKC in game two. And when I say cover, I mean if this is just a 5-point game, I cannot wait to bet OKC to cover in game two. But I think they get out of the gates quick. The problem here is that Indiana is going from a defensive matchup they didn't really have to worry about to, oh my God, it's awful all the time, every second. There is no break. There is no let up. And that's not going to be a good time for the Indiana Pacers. But we'll watch every single second of a competitive game tonight on playback.tv/Stokastic. come and join me. I'll be back for Live Before Lock later tonight. Keep an eye on Twitter for any additional NBA takes, bets, etc. And sign up for the Portfolio EV tool at oddshopper.com. Link in the description. I will see you guys tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time for NBA Live Before Lock. Good luck, everybody. Go watch baseball.